Well, here it is, our last lesson, part two. It really is the same lesson. This is the same page, by the way, you're not imagining things. When we have crisscross chords in the middle, I just want to remind you from Wednesday's lesson, excuse me, that it's add the arcs, divide by 2. In other words, it's an average, right? This 60-degree angle on the left and the right is an average of these two blue arc measures. And when it's on the outside here with two secants, it's not really an average. It's subtract and divide by 2, a different kind of average. So what happens is we get used to grabbing the two blue numbers, add and divide by 2. And if we were in a classroom, we would have done a lot more of these problems. You've only had to do 5 of them this week, and that's all we had time for. Sorry, but not sorry. But as we get good at grabbing the two numbers, divide by 2, grab the two numbers, divide by 2, grab the two numbers, divide by 2, we maybe stop thinking about what we're doing. The rule is add the arcs, divide by 2. And then you run into a problem like this. Okay, and maybe you just think, okay, what have I been doing? They gave me two numbers. I'm going to add them and divide by 2. That's 70, divide by 2, 35. And let me just ask you, if you average 20 and 35, would 50 be the average? No. So 35 is the wrong answer, and you are not going to add these two numbers and divide by 2, right? The rule is add the arcs, and that's not an arc. So that's what today's lesson is. Think about what you're doing. Don't just brainlessly add stuff. So we are going to add the arcs. And by the way, I guess, this would be, we'd be solving for this missing arc here. So the arc is x. We already know the angle. We're going to write the equation like this. That the angle equals, sorry. I'm not going to redo this video, so I'm just going to go ahead and fix that. Sorry, the angle, there we go, equals, didn't I just say don't be brainless? The two arcs are 20 and x. That's basically your whole lesson. If you can figure that out, you just go ahead and do the worksheet now. There's only 5 more problems, right? Except a couple of them are tricky, so you might want to stay tuned for the 2 tricks. But there it is. We're adding the arcs, divide by 2. Well, we already know that, so really we're going to take this 2 and multiply it over. So we get 100 degrees equals the 20 plus our mystery number. And now it's a little more obvious what that is, right? It had to be bigger. What is if 50 is your average and you took 2 tests, of course 50 average is not very good, right? But if you had an average of 50, well, the 120 has to be balanced out. If this is 30 degrees lower than 50, this had to be 30 degrees higher than 50. And sure enough, isn't 20 plus 80 100? So let's write it. I guess we'll just write it like this. X equals 100 minus 20, which is 80 degrees. Let's take a look at what one of those looks like with I'm just going to look at one of the example problems. You didn't really need to take notes on this. The notes are, that's an arc, and that's not. And if I were actually going to write a few more notes here, I would put, this is not an arc, stating the obvious. Thank you, Captain Obvious. So don't add the 2. That's the rule is add the arcs. That's not an arc. Okay, I said it 3 times. Angle already. So we know the angle equals subtract the arcs, divide by 2. Subtract the arcs, divide by 2. So I'm going to subtract the bigger arc, and the smaller arc is x. Okay, see how I did not subtract 70 and 23? 23 is not an arc. don't subtract 23 from 70 if it's not an arc. You subtract the arcs. Divide by 2. So once again, we will multiply that 2 over. We get 46. 46 equals the 70 minus the x. And now we can just switch places. Subtract 46 from both sides, add x over there, and we'll get x equals, I believe that's 24. That's 70 minus 46. And see how that's a little guy? Now, we can't really tell from that 23 and 24 are the same, but we do know that if we subtract 70, let's try it backwards. 70 minus 24, subtract the arcs. Sure enough, we get 46, divide by 2, and we get our angle of 23 degrees. Double checked. Okay, we've got a couple curveballs that we need to go over. And one of them is, that's the actual problem I want you to work on. But here's an example that's kind of like number 10. I mean, I really want you to think about it. If this were a Khan Academy video, Sal Khan at this point would say, pause the video. I want you to think about this. Because I know you can solve this yourself. But if you're stuck or confused that there's an x here and a bunch of z's over here, and they didn't tell you any arcs, okay, I'm here to help. And the big help is that what is this entire arc measure, circumference measure? And I don't mean how long it is in inches or centimeters. I mean, how many degrees around is it? Well, it's 360 degrees, right? And then what else do we know? We've got a 5z and a 2z and a 1z and a 4z. So we've got a bunch of z's here. And I believe that that's 9, that's 10, and that's 11, 12. So we've got 12z, 12 times z degrees equals 360 degrees. So that's the secret. Then you'll be able to solve for z, and then you can do your add the arcs, divide by 2. Add the arcs, divide by 2. Do I really need to finish this? Okay, fine, I will. Divide the 12, both sides. The 12 turns into a 1 here, and 12 times 3 is 36, so that would be 12 times 30. So z is 30 degrees in this problem, okay? In your problem, z is not 30 degrees. Now what? Are we done? No, we're just getting started. We've got 30 degrees over here. Is it okay if I just put 30 degrees right here? And then this one is 5 times 30. 5 times 30 is 150, I believe. Okay, now which one is this? Is this add the arcs or is this subtract the arcs? This is inside, so it's add the arcs, divide by 2. We are done. Oh, look at that. It kind of does look like a right angle now that you mention it. Okay, again, oh, I just wrote the work and didn't show it on the video. Add the arcs, divide by 2, get 90. And it does look like a 90-degree angle, doesn't it? Okay, again, your angle, not 90 degrees in your assignment. Okay, and then this is the real thinking problem. This is something I really would like. A shout out to Vi Gabriel, who did the whole Friday assignment before this video was made, and then wrestled with this one as well. And I'm just going to tell you a couple things, and I want you to think about it. Hint number one, it's still the same formula. This is a secant problem, though technically these are not secants, right? They're not cutting into the circle, they're just touching the circle. So these are tangents. But so I guess you need your teacher to tell you this is the same rule. Let me just make this even here. A little elf hat there. It's the same rule of the angle measure will equal the, I'm going to put, of course, it's the larger arc minus the smaller arc. Okay, and then we know two of those three things. So why not just go ahead and plug those in? You know the angle equals the larger arc minus x. So here we have our mystery. Hint number 2 is think about how big is this arc. And if you call it y, you'll get stuck because you have one equation with two variables. I don't know if you remember from algebra, but you cannot solve two variables with only one equation. So hint number 2 is how big is the larger arc? And I'm going to ask you a question. Is it 360 degrees? Well, it would be the whole circle, right? This would be the whole circle if it was 360 degrees. So the answer is no, it's less. And then I'm going to ask you, how much less? How much less than 360 degrees? It's less. How much less? And then I want you to write that in an algebraic or a mathematical expression. This is, I'll make it green, this is not 360 degrees, it's 360 degrees minus something. Hint, hint. Minus what? Let me zoom out a little bit here. Should I go any farther? No, I don't think I should. 360 degrees, but less. That much. There, I told you. So that is the size of the larger arc. You're going to go ahead and put that in there. Did I say put 360 degrees in there? No. You're putting 360 degrees minus x minus x. How many times did I say x? There are 2 x's in this equation. So 50 degrees equals 360 minus x minus x. I'll let you do the algebra. Okay, well, thanks for listening, and I'd say see you next time, but that is it. So for those of you who have done all the assignments, I thank you for your fabulous job. I've loved receiving your assignments on Teams and giving you little smiley faces and check marks and completes. And for those of you who've talked to me on Teams and asked for help, I thank you for your second chance and second efforts. And for those of you who aren't watching this video, I'm just going to say you missed out.